Cedar Point's brand new 2025 roller coaster, Siren's Curse, is a new gen Vekoma tilt coaster. Has a whole backstory of how it ended up at Cedar Point. We're not going to get into all that. This video is going to be all about the great, the good, and the ugly about this coaster. It's been open for, a couple weeks now, but we didn't want to do a review until we've ridden it quite a few times in a few different rows and stuff, so we can give a full breakdown and honest opinion about what we feel about this ride. So first, before we get into the review, we'll go over some of the stats. You're looking at about 160 feet tall. Now, I think that 160 feet is the top part if you're in the back seat, which we've pretty much sat in before. So if you're sitting in the back seat, you're going to actually get into the tallest point of the ride, taller than anyone else reaches. So I think that 160 feet is if you're in the back row. It gets up to 58 miles per hour, is just under 3,000 feet of track, and has a ride time of just under 2 minutes. So now that we got into all that stuff, we're going to get into everything that we feel about this ride and the entire ride experience. Now, first of all, you walk into the queue. If you're in the main standby queue, you get most of the theming. That's where most of the water is.
Yeah, the theming consists of some music, some barrels, a lot of very rusty stuff. One thing that I really like with this ride is they painted rust on the supports. They painted some other stuff too, like some green, water type, I don't know, whatever,
like moss or something.
Yeah. So I think that looks really cool. And it's just very loose theming, but it looks good. It's a good presentation, which is what Six Flags has really been working on for a little bit now.
Yeah, a lot of the rides coming out, at Dorney Park, you have...
Yeah, Iron Menace. A lot of it is just, it's very just loose theming, but it's good presentation.
Now, if you're over in the other side in the fast lane, you do not get pretty much any of that. I was a little disappointed that they didn't add a couple things into the fast lane line, especially since the queue for the fast lane is pretty long, because I think the only time that we really, that I really waited in the fast lane was a full hour long wait time, and it was every minute of an hour. And I just felt like I didn't get any of the big experience that the people in the standby queue.
Yeah, but you got to wait 2 hours less.
Yeah, well, I mean, a little bit less time. So, I mean, there is a trade-off there. But so you get up into the station, and these trains, onboard audio, onboard lighting, which is new for anything that Cedar Point has ever done before.
Yeah, usually Cedar Point is just very bare with the trains with maybe the ride logo on it. No, very minimal lighting, if any, and then really no onboard audio for anything. This ride changes that. The trains look really, really cool just in the daytime, but at night they especially look good because the lighting on the trains, it has all these patterns, it changes colors. It looks really cool, and they kind of did the Stardust Racers effect where there's no lighting on the actual track, it's only on the train, so you're just seeing the light from the train go on a dark track, which I think looks really, really cool.
So when you get on these trains, they have a vest restraint, and a lot of people, especially enthusiasts, look down on vest restraints, especially with the newer B&M dive coasters and wing coasters and stuff.
Yeah, but these restraints feel very different than any B&M restraints. Now, these are the classic Vekoma vest restraints, which they use on pretty much all of their new modern thrill coasters, but they are way more comfortable than the vest restraints that you get on any sort of new B&M coaster. It is not suffocating. It does not push down on your shoulders. It feels very flexible and breathable, and it's very, very comfortable.
Yeah, it seems like they're there just to give a little bit of extra support, especially since you're tilting.
You need it.
At a 90-degree angle for a few seconds. So definitely something that gives you that little extra support, and that is all it's there for. It's not there to like you said, push down into you or anything like that. So you get into these trains, and right away with a comfortable experience, they do have seat belts, but the seat belts go straight into the lap bar instead of around your waist. So it's a real quick process, though. From what I've seen in our few rides, the ride ops are doing a good job at getting people in, pushing you down, buckling you in, and moving you along pretty quickly.
The operations have been getting quicker and quicker from what I've noticed. Like when we first rode, it would usually, the second train would be going into the brakes and they would dispatch. Now it seems like it's like a little over halfway through the course and they're already dispatching, which is really nice.
At times,
it's always inconsistent.
What I found is that dispatch times are right around about a minute and 45, a minute and 50 seconds. Like that seems to be like a good point that they seem to be at. But we will get more into the capacity and stuff like that a little bit later in this video. So you go up the lift hill, which you move up pretty quickly.
It's very quick. It almost feels like a cable lift that Intamin makes, but it's not. It's just a normal chain. It just goes really, really fast.
And so we will point out, obviously, you're going to get different experiences depending on where you are in the train. Some roller coasters, like, it doesn't fully matter. You might get a little bit different of an experience, like in the front or middle or back or anything like that. But this ride, you can honestly say, is a completely different experience depending on where you are. If you're in the front of the train, which we've sat at before, you're literally coming up and like the zero car is a little bit in front of you, but you can still see the end of this track.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting and a very, very unique thing. Going, you're high up, you're going, and the track just ends. It's very, very cool. Everybody's seen Gravity Max, which is the other tilt coaster that has been built. And that ride is on every GP video. Would you ride this? The track just ends, and it really is a pretty scary effect. And it really is like, wow, the track just ends, and you get really, really close to it.
Yeah, so you're right there, and when you start tilting, you're going like downwards. So it's an interesting sensation. And then if you're more towards the middle on like the fulcrum, you're basically just almost staying exactly where you are.
Yeah, because on the axis.
Yeah, you're just on the axis. So when you're moving, you're going basically not moving. You're not going further down. You're not going further up. And further up is if you're in the back of the train. And it has 12 rows. So if you're in 11 or 12 or something like that, you're going to be lifted. And that is a very odd sensation because you're stopped. You actually feel the hook come up into the train, which is one of the safety precautions that they have whenever you get up there to keep the train from rolling off a track that isn't connected to another track. So you start being lifted up and you're just being raised up, and it doesn't feel like anything that you should feel on a roller coaster.
Yeah, no, this... you would think probably whenever you're getting on this for the first time, you're probably going to think, okay, the front will probably be better. And it might be for a lot of people. Personally, for me, and I think for you too, maybe, for me at least, I really like the back on the tilt. And while the front is fun, I think the back is even cooler because you get raised upwards and you feel like you're just going so high up. It is such a cool sensation. I know people were kind of like, why are they putting this right next to Valraven, which is a dive coaster? It kind of does a similar thing. The tilt on Siren's Curse feels so much different than just hanging over a drop on a dive coaster.
Yeah, this is it's easy to see why people might compare this to a dive coaster, but the sensation is 100 times different. Yeah, it's nowhere close.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that we were talking about before with the onboard audio, it really helps for this part because as you're going up the lift hill, you hear all this creepy music, and it's like talking to you, like the sirens are talking to you, luring you in. And then whenever you get to the tilt and you're starting to tilt down, it's like you will fall to your doom.
Yep.
And then right when it says that, it unlatches. And then you get sent down to the
like prepare to meet your doom or something like that. It says something like that, and that's when if you hear that, you're about to drop. So
it's really cool. I think the onboard audio really, really enhances the ride. Like obviously it would be good without it, but I think it really, really helps.
Oh yeah, without question. So you go into the tilt, you drop you bank to the left. I mean, the drop is good. It's nothing like extraordinary or special or anything.
Yeah, I think the drop is better in the back because I think you just have there just is more.
You have
drop.
longer. Yeah, there's more drop.
Yeah, there's more. So in the front, I think it's kind of over pretty quick. In the back, it's a little bit more fun, and I think you twist. You know, you at the bottom of the drop, you twist to the left. I think you get whipped a little bit harder in the back, and the onboard audio does not stop. It plays this kind of like intense music throughout the rest of the ride, which I think is really cool.
So let's see. So we're going to get into our first element, all this stuff, and we haven't even gotten into the actual course. And I think we talked about how the drop is a lot different than a dive coaster. A dive coaster is also mainly just the drop, and the rest of the course is just kind of
filler.
It's filler. But on Siren's Curse, the rest of the course is an actual course, and it's a very
strong layout. Yeah.
So you drop, you bank left, and like we're trying to figure out the names of all these elements, and it's kind of hard. So bear with us. You kind of go into what is a dive loop, except you don't actually invert.
It's not. It's very similar to what Hyperion and Energylandia, because you kind of go into an airtime hill. Like it starts to go into an airtime hill. You get airtime, and then you twist downwards. So it's technically not an inversion. At least on Hyperion, it's not an inversion. So it kind of feels like a dive loop, but at the same time, you are getting airtime. I think it's a very fun element. I think you do get solid airtime in both the front and back.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I'll say this. I'll preface each element that we're going to go over. I don't think there's really anything except for the two inversions on this ride that you don't really get some airtime.
No.
With.
And another thing that you will notice right away for this ride is how smooth it is. This ride is about as smooth as a roller coaster can possibly get.
I almost said that it was too smooth to be picky, because like you don't feel anything on this ride.
Very, very impressive. Like you look at all the new B&Ms that are coming out, those pretty much all of them are rough, and you know the seats bounce. On Siren's Curse, Vekoma did a great job. It is literally as smooth of a coaster as I have ever ridden.
Because before this, the only new gen Vekomas that we really rode were the family boomerangs down at Holiday World and Kings Island.
Yeah, and Dragonflyer at Dollywood.
Yeah, I forgot about Dragonflyer. And all those coasters were completely smooth, but they're kid/family coasters and don't go that fast and don't really do anything. So you're like, okay, they're smooth because they're not doing anything.
Yeah, but still, even the thrill coasters like Abyssus and all the other big thrill coasters that they built, all of them have been smooth. It's not just Siren's Curse. Vekoma is just really good at making roller coasters. Anyways, after that kind of airtime dive loop type of thing, you go into your first inversion.
So it's kind of like, what, a barrel roll, essentially?
It's essentially a barrel roll. It's very whippy. I think it's very fun, not super intense. It's just a very fun, traditional inversion.
Yeah, you don't get a ton out of it. It's just there. So good. It's a good element. And another thing about this ride, it hits element after element. It doesn't have any like real downtime.
No.
You go from one element and you're barely catching your breath from that one, and you're hitting another one. And that's why I think this ride actually takes you riding at least a few times to really get your bearings and fully understand what's going on with this ride. Because by the time you're processing one element, you're already on another one. So after that first barrel roll, inversion, whatever, basically you're hitting what would be a banked triple down.
Mm-hmm.
So a triple down is common in triple downs or double downs are common in a lot of like wooden coasters. So you're basically just going to have like 3 drops, and like the appealing thing about those in a lot of those rides, like Voyage down at Holiday World, is the airtime you get is from the feeling of the actual like roller coaster dropping out from underneath you. And that's the airtime you get. Now on something like this, you don't get that kind of airtime, like especially since they're banked. So you get like airtime.
Yeah, it's like
airtime.
Yeah, it's like, well, the first 2 are banked, and then the last one is just a traditional drop. You get good airtime, but yeah, it is banked, so you kind of get like sideways airtime, and you're getting thrown around. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just a very unique element. I don't think too many coasters really have something like that, and it just, again, flows through each of them just so smoothly, and you're just getting thrown around, but in a very smooth and not super intense way.
Yeah, and the big thing about this is the Triple Down ends into the only underground tunnel that exists at Cedar Point. Cedar Point is on a peninsula surrounded by water, so it's not, and it floods a lot. If you've ever been to Cedar Point, whenever there's a lot of rain, there's all sorts of parts around the park that get lots of flooding. So what they had to do to make sure this tunnel didn't flood was completely seal it, and they talked about it in some of their construction update videos. But you're in a tunnel that has a lot of like mist, smoke, and then I guess at night it just like
at night. And I rode it at night for the first time like a week ago, and you can really, really appreciate how cool that tunnel is, because you can see the fog, and it has like this cool sound effect, and it has the lights. It is really cool. It reminds me of something that's honestly at Universal with one of their coasters. It is really, really impressive.
So you go through the tunnel, and again, we're trying to figure out like the names of some of these elements. So we likened this to a non-inverting loop, essentially.
It isn't a non-inverting loop, but that's kind of the best way to describe it, because a non-inverting loop goes straight up. This doesn't go straight up, but it's basically just a steep, you go up, and it's kind of like a twisted airtime hill, essentially. That's kind of an oddly shaped non-inverting loop. But it's fun. You get airtime, and you get whipped in the back.
You come out of that element and hit a twisted airtime hill into the second inversion, a small wave turn, and then two small kind of like twisted airtime hills into the brakes. I mean, it's excellent ride from beginning to end, and I don't think anyone would be disappointed if they waited in line for this ride. What do you think?
No, it's a very, very just solid coaster overall. It's honestly, the more times I ride it, I like it more and more. I'm starting to actually like it more than Maverick, which Maverick is an incredible coaster, but this ride is just so smooth. The airtime is very solid. The whole production with it, with the onboard audio and the lighting, is just so cool. And yeah, I definitely don't think you will be disappointed, because this is just a very, very well designed and well done coaster.
Now, you're not comparing it to Maverick, because they're two different rides. One is very intense. One's very intense. One's more like
I'm comparing it to other rides at Cedar Point, where it stacks up at Cedar Point.
Exactly.
I think I like it more than Maverick, and I would honestly put it at my number 3 coaster there, behind Steel Vengeance and Top Thrill.
Oh wow, I didn't. Okay, well then I haven't really decided where I would put it at the park itself. I know it's a great experience, and I know that I'm going to ride this thing as many times as I can as soon as this line goes down. Which I think that's what we can get into now. We talked about the great, the good, and the ugly. We've talked about all the greats and all the goods about this ride. Now it's time to get into the ugly, and that is capacity. This thing only operates 2 trains. It was built for Energylandia in Poland, so it wasn't built for a park that gets as busy as Cedar Point. And that makes me kind of wonder, would this ride have been better off going somewhere else in the Six Flags chain? Would it have been better off going down to Kings Island? Would it have been better off going to something like Fiesta Texas maybe, or something? Would a park less busy? Because I'm figuring, okay, so theoretical capacity on this ride, you could get theoretically around 36 trains an hour, but I haven't seen any times that I've been there that I've timed it. They haven't been getting out 36 trains an hour, so I don't really see them unless you get like a year into this ride or something, and the operators are like fully going.
Like I said, the last time I was there, when you weren't there, so you didn't see how good it was. It was before the second inversion. The one train was there, and they were already dispatching. It was starting to dispatch before the tilt even got up to its like default position. Which I don't know how many trains, I didn't time it, so I don't know how many trains an hour or people an hour it would have been, but I can imagine it was pretty good, because that's the best I've ever seen it. But again, that's not consistent. That's just at least they're capable of doing that at some point.
From what I've been seeing, it looks like theoretically they could probably get a little over 700 people an hour somewhere. I think realistically you're going to look at 7 to 730 an hour, which isn't that great. I mean, you're like, I forget what Wild Mouse at Cedar Point is, but I don't think Wild Mouse is much different than that. So I think that you're going to have long lines for this ride for quite some time. And I don't really see, I think it's, not to use the word GP, but general public, but I think it's going to be a GP magnet. You're going to have Val Raven, which you hang over the drop, and then you're going to have all these other, then you're going to have Siren's Curse, where they're watching the track tilt, and they're going to be like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever, and like just rush over to that ride. So I think long lines are going to be a staple on this thing, and I just wonder if I don't think they could have done anything to add a third train. The only ways that you could have really added a third train on a ride like this is adding a mid-course brake run, which you're not going to do on a ride like this.
No, it's
definitely not.
Too short of a ride to, you couldn't do that. The only way they could have, the other way is just extending the brake run, but there just wasn't really room, especially since this coaster was already designed.
Yeah, it was designed for another park. Yeah. So extending the brake run or adding an unload station, doing something like that could have added a third train. But it just wasn't built for a park like Cedar Point. So do you think this ride would have been better off going somewhere else?
No, because our home park is Cedar Point, and I really like this coaster.
Okay, well,
so
then
I'm happy with it at Cedar Point. I don't know. I guess maybe like Kings Island. I know people have talked about Kings Island a lot. So maybe it would be better fit there because Kings Island gets very busy, but not quite as busy. But I don't know.
I'm talking non-selfishly. I mean, selfishly, I'm glad this ride is at Cedar Point because I really like it. But I'm talking more just for, like, if we had no interest in any of these parks whatsoever, like, what would we say?
I mean, they like giving Cedar Point the best stuff, and having the second ever tilt coaster in the world is pretty good. So it's nice that a park, or they would want a park like Cedar Point to get something like that. But I don't know, capacity-wise, maybe it would have been a better fit somewhere else because it would have had less lines and less people it would have had to get through.
And it seems like that's what Six Flags is doing, like Flash at Great Adventure, that runs one train at Six Flags Great Adventure, which is in one of the busiest parts of the country.
Yeah, it's a busy park, and that ride should not have gone to Great Adventure. It looks like a great coaster, but yeah. Yeah,
because it was built, again, for another park, and it was not used for that park, so it was sent to Great Adventure.
That definitely could have went somewhere else with one train.
So it seems like Six Flags is taking these hand-me-down coasters and sending them to parks that they want to do good things for, except they're not really thinking it out completely.
But I mean, it has less capacity, but it's still people that get to ride that coaster at those parks.
That's true.
I don't know.
So, anyway, that is it for this comprehensive breakdown of Siren's Curse. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up. Comment down below any of your opinions about Siren's Curse if you've ridden it, if you haven't ridden it yet. And, of course, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And a shout-out to all our channel members. Thank you, all you guys, for helping out this channel so much. If you want to check out what you get for being a channel member, go down in the description. There's a link, and you can see everything that goes into that. So any last words to say about Siren's Curse or about anything?
No, I think go out to Cedar Point, ride this coaster. It's a good ride. Highly recommend.
You will not be disappointed. Yep. So that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next time right here on Beach Cliff Studios.